Hey, I am so thankful that we were able to put together the first one of this series of events where we are talking to alumni about what they did right out of college, right out of school upon graduating. And myself, I am a big believer that that first year when you leave school is kind of the most important year, and not the most important to like become famous or to become successful, none of that, but to find a way to get into your own kind of creative flow without the structures of school and without the challenges where school is giving you assignments and giving you deadlines and giving you these things that you have to meet. And there's also the aspect that when you graduate, you aren't surrounded by a circle of creative contemporaries the way you are when you're a student. And so that can be a shock to your system. You have to create your own community. And these are things that are important to me and things I wish I had maybe planned better for in when I got out of school. So I'm thankful that we are able to put this together, and we have an hour to engage with this on our lunch hour, and let's do the best we can here. And I guess we have Adrian Powell knocking at the door, who will be happy to see all of you.
Oh my God, Mr.
Hey there, Adrian Powell.
Hey, Adrian. How are you?
It's so good to see you all.
So good to see
Where you all are. Yay.
Hey, thanks for coming, Adrian. So let me introduce the people that we have here. Let's see, I need to share my screen. Oh, Adrian's here. She's in her new office.
Good to see you all.
Oh my God.
And here we have the work, our first guest here is Bo Hao. Bo was a student in our program in the graduate department. And, what I remember about Bo's work at the time was, she almost seemed to be taking the hardest path possible, I thought, which was shooting 4x5 pinhole landscapes. That alone is challenging. But her work was always just ethereal, and it seemed also to be about nature and about her in nature. And I admired it from the very beginning. And it's great to see how this work has evolved as well. She also experimented with multiple, different types of processes. And Bo, is this your mom in your cap?
Yeah.
That is a beautiful portrait. That is a truly beautiful portrait. That is beautiful. And then this is a cyanotype?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then our next guest is Shahzad Bhiwandiwala. And his work is, I think of it as commercial, and I think of it as fashion, speaking to both of those worlds. Shahzad, how would you describe your work?
Fine art, fashion and beauty.
Yeah, no, very accurate. What are we looking at here?
So these are some of my favorite photos from across multiple projects that I have done. The last two photos are from my Indian Renaissance project, which was my graduation project. So, and the first two are from projects that I did while for like different classes.
Right, as a graduate student. Nice. And then we have Lucien Liu. Lucien is one of those special people who everybody loves. And it looks like he has a new project here, Vesper. And when he was a student at the program, he had a project he worked on for a couple semesters, petrichor. Is that what it's called?
That's correct.
And Vesper seems like it's a cousin of that a little bit, would you say?
Yes, it's kind of like a development of that project.
Oh, an extension of it. That's a beautiful photo. That is a moment there. So I wanted to just introduce everyone's work a little bit, but then begin the conversation. And Bo, why don't you give us an update on what you're doing now, creatively and occupationally, and in your life,
Well, right now I'm just doing some experiment work at home because I'm not really working right now. And next month I'll be moving to Arizona with my husband, and hopefully I'll have a studio there, and so I can work on my art more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's totally exciting.
Yeah, it is. His work is relocating to Phoenix, so and we both are going.
Oh, I think you're going to love it there, and the land that you have access
Yeah,
to.
it's a different landscape, so I'm excited.
Oh, that's very exciting. Oh, that's wonderful. The well, occupationally though, there was a couple steps occupationally that you took after graduating.
So right after graduating, I took a tintype workshop at Image Flow.
Yeah.
Then I was accepted to Kala Art Institute in Berkeley.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
was doing my artist in residency there for a few months. And the elk photo was made during that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they had a dark room. So I was able to use their dark room few hours a day. But the struggle I had was going there and then coming back home. Like I had to deal with the traffic on Bay Bridge almost every time I went there. So that was really hard. And also the cost was not cheap. So I only did for 3 months, and after that I kind of like, and also I was working a full-time job during that time. So yeah, it was definitely a struggle for me.
Oh, for sure. What was the job you were working at that time?
I was working at the Real Reels at the end of October. So it's like a photo assistant job. There was nothing creative about it. It was just like you go there, you take photos, everything was set up for you. The lighting, the camera, you kind of just press the remote control and take photo of their clothes all day long for 8 hours a day. And then they have this quota system, like you have to hit quota, otherwise it'll affect your performance. But I had to take that job because my visa, and also I needed to make a living.
Right.
So I had to have some income, otherwise I couldn't survive. So that's why I took the job. And I think the only good thing happened was I met my husband at the company.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah.
That's very good. That's
so,
great.
Yeah. And we started dating just like a week after I got there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then we got married in June last year.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful news. No, and I like the fact that you brought that up, because I do think that, like, I don't like that idea that artists are only artists and they can't like have families and they can't like, couple with other people. Like, I like the acknowledgement that there's a life you're building too. And I think it's easy for students to lose sight of that, you know what I mean, at different times. And those things are important. And important to keep in mind. Now I've known you a little bit, around the time you graduated, and I was always impressed that you got that job from the Real with your work that was so esoteric, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do you think they hired you?
Well, I think one of the things is I was fresh off school.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any experience in photography. So having the first job, I think they think is like I would take more serious, which I did.
Oh yeah.
Because during the hiring process, there were also some other people, because they did this group interview. Yeah, and some of them like already had some professional experience either in photography or some other field, and I think they were looking for some like fresh people.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I remember at the time that you told me you had gotten that job, there was another student who was still in the program, whose work was very art oriented. And I remember him coming to me and saying, well, I think there's all these e-commerce jobs out there. Should I put together a portfolio for that? And I said, well, I think they'd probably just hire you on your intelligence and maturity, you know what I mean? And ability to be trained, not necessarily portfolio. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say yes, but I feel like there are two kinds of e-commerce photography jobs. One is what I did at the Real, which is more like volume based, less creativity. And then there are also another side of e-commerce photography where you've got to use your creativity a little bit.
Oh no, that's very honest.
So, yeah.
Nice. That's a good story. Let's shift this here to Shahzad. And Shahzad, why don't you're the most recent graduate, of our panelists here. Why don't you catch us up to what you're up to?
So I'm currently freelancing, and I've shot 2 campaigns since graduating.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I feel like I'm on the right path. I feel like everything I have done so far has built up to getting me the kind of jobs that I want. It's not as much as I want, like you always want a lot more than what you're getting, but I feel like I have gotten sort of a foot in the door, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's been difficult, and I don't see it easing up anytime soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, you did graduate at the worst possible time, though.
I did.
For the world.
I did. I did. It's kind of like the theme of everything I have done across time. I would when I graduated from the college, it was when jobs were at an all-time low. This was back in 2013.
Right.
And but it's always been interesting because everything that I have done, it's always taught me something. I've always had a takeaway from what I have been experiencing. And the one thing that I realized the most is building your own team and having like a network when you're in school is absolutely essential, because all the jobs that I have got are from the network that I have built. There's been nothing that's come in from people I don't know. It's always through recommendations. It's always through people who have worked with you and they say, okay, yeah, this guy's good. Go speak to him. Or like last week, I digiteched for a photographer in San Francisco, and that came because I was in contact with someone he knew whose opinion he valued, and that person was like, yeah, you know what, just speak to Shahzad. He's a good person to reach out to, get him on the job. And that's how I got to do that. So it's all about networking. Just after graduating, I was home and networking and building my website and entering all these contests, and it's been interesting, It's not been easy, but it's been interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I have thought was interesting about the path you've taken is that, the idea of being the freelance photographer was the holy grail a number of years ago. And it does seem that students now, they're more interested in getting a job right out of college, and
I would be interested
your
in
path
that.
was different.
I would be interested in getting a job. I did apply to a bunch of places, but what I have found is that the job is obviously for just the regularity of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like the most interesting job, but just for the regularity of it. I did try out at a couple of places when I was still in school, but
Yeah.
they needed me to join immediately as a full-time employee, and visa restrictions and stuff like that. So I could not join them full-time. So by the time I graduated and I reached out to them, the position was filled. Um, After that, there were a bunch of places that I applied to who got back to me, and they said, we'll pay you the princely sum of $20 an hour. So I said, no, thank you. I'm worth a lot more than $20 an hour. So, so I had to turn those down,
Yeah.
because at some point you need to know your own value. I mean,
Right.
the stability is one thing and knowing your own value is another thing. And eventually, I feel like if you've got something like that on your CV, in the long term, people are going to associate you with that. So I want to make sure that, because my long term goal is to freelance. So
Yeah.
I don't want something on my CV that brands me as someone who would take work on the cheap, or who would be willing to just work for the heck of working.
Mhm.
So all of that sort of prevented me from taking like the easiest and the first job that I could get.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, to me, it sounds like you're more kind of building a brand and kind of playing a longer game.
Hopefully.
A longer game that you plan on winning. Thanks for that, Shahzad. That was real good. Now, it's fascinating. Let's talk to Lucien. Lucien, I feel like I'm always in touch with on social media. And then when I was planning this event, I was like, well, let me call Lucien and see what he's doing, because I had no idea what he was doing occupationally. I knew what he was doing artistically, but not occupationally. And, as we were talking, I was just fascinated with all the doors he was able to open. So catch us up, Lucien, on what you are up to.
Well, to be honest, I'm a class of 19 and I graduated at fall 19, but 2 months later we got a pandemic.
Yep.
And so I was more like, at that time, I was more like, how about just to take more time on my visa, because I'm an international student. Visa should be, if I want to keep working here, visa will be my next step. So I was more like, the first thing is visa, and the second thing is getting into more exhibitions, know more people, then get a job. So that's my plan at the time. And it took me kind of like half a year, like 6 months, to figure out everything. And well, it turned out good. I'm working for 2 nonprofit art organizations right now as part-time. First is SF alumni, artist alumni. I'm an associate curator over there. That's a nonprofit connect with the SFAI. So
San Francisco Art Institute, correct?
yes, and but we know what happened to SFAI. And so we are a nonprofit, kind of like take over some legacy and keep the exhibition part running. So we did the exhibition with the FFF Tower this January. It's turned out to pretty good. It's a video exhibition over there. Another one, I guess most of you have heard about that. I'm an operations manager for Photo Alliance right now, and basically we are out of people, so just Heather Snyder and me right now. We are just puts up all the exhibitions, running our social media and running our. Maybe we will have a portfolio review of the next half of this year, but we are still looking for money right now. That's the problem with doing fine art, especially nonprofit. So, but the thing since I graduated. Yes, I would say I was a little bit anxious at that time, but before I came to US, I've been working for a very high pressure work for 3 years before, so I can handle that. I knew that. I know if I want to do fine art, especially in another country, it needs time. So I focus on my visa, and because there is a couple of things can help me both get a visa and both get a job. So so I was very picky at the time, but I have to check all the information online all the time, and what kind of exhibition I want to get in, and what kind of publication I want to get in. And it's I would say there is some luck thing there. I'm pretty lucky, and I got selected by by exhibition at Carmel, the Center of Photographic Arts last year, and Anne Jastrop came to my place and picked up my work, and she said, "Oh, I knew you. I just didn't recognize your name." So it's turned out I've been visited to her since she worked for Rico and somewhere else in different galleries, and so we knew each other's face, but she never know who I am, and it's turned out to be a very great like relationship, something like that. And then she recommended me to Linda Connor, and Linda Connor brought me to Photo Lines. So, you know, it's a long story, but it's good.
So hey, can you tell everyone what Photo Alliance is for people who might not know?
Photo Lines is a Bay Area-based nonprofit photographic organization. We are focusing on like bringing different photo artists for lectures every year, kind of like every month for now. And you know, we've been running, this is our 19th year, so it has been a while. I highly recommended this organization, the lectures. It's free, and I've joined every lecture since I went to the Academy of Art. And you know, Photo Lines totally changed me, because I remember Clea McKenna was talking in 2017, which drive me totally switch to alternative processes work at the time. So it's a life change organization for me. I'm very thankful, and I'm very happy for working with them right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now, there was another that you mentioned that, different shows you've been trying to get in, or jury things you've been trying to get into. And I do remember while you were still a student, there was the Chico kind of portfolio review that you had been accepted to.
Yeah.
And then that got canceled for COVID purposes.
Actually, it's a postponed to this October. I will still go there this October.
Oh, okay. So that will happen. So
that's what happened.
That kind of brings me to, I want to talk to you all to share things that you did maybe before graduation in anticipation to try to set yourself up for some of your goals. And why don't you enlighten us a little bit about that Chico event, or some of these other things that you did while you were still a student with an idea of like, ooh, this might position me for something.
Sure. I think Shahzad, I guess Shahzad should have the same feeling about that. Like, what kind of work we are working on, we need to like do some research on what kind of exhibition or like a curator or like a gallery so we want to get in. Like me, my work are totally fine art, if I cannot be on Vogue, right? So I realized this kind of thing. When I was still in school, I just randomly like submitted my work to different call for entries or something like that. But a tip I want to point it out is you have to do more research than that so that you can just higher the rate you get in and save your money. That's very important, I would say, because as you remember, when I started to work, submitted all my works at my last year in school, and at the beginning of my pandemic break, and I spent tons of money on it, but not so many works to get in. And then when I started getting, I began to learn who is the curator, what is the preference of this curator, what is the style of the gallery. So that's very useful information, so that whatever this curator is curating this show, so he or she will select like what kind of style of work, so that what kind of work you should submit. That's very important, and that's helped me to get into kind of like 15 to 20 exhibitions in the last year. That's pretty good, I would say.
That's a lot.
And so I started, and another thing is that you will start to know the curators, and they will invited you, because I remember last August and September, and there is 3 curators, and they asked me, said, "Oh, I know your work. I saw there is a work on your website. I really like it. Do you have a print? If you have a print, you don't have to submit this call for entry. You just ship that print to me, and I will just put it on the show." I was like,
That's
I would say, why not? So it's kind of like I spend money doing call for entry and to get to know the people.
Yeah.
And then they recognize your work, and of course I hate to do that, but you will be labeled like, okay, Lucien, alternative, black and white, and the fine art, landscape, or something. And once they get an exhibition really fits your labels, and they will ask you for work. So, to be honest, because I'm working for the photographic nonprofit right now, and we are putting up the exhibitions now, and this is exactly what I'm doing as a curator, you know. And like we got a topic said, oh, I want to work like this. So the easiest way is I just find the people I know, who has that work.
Right.
And I will just ask them, oh, I really like that work. Do you have a print? So I'm on the curator side, to do the same thing. And and this is so fascinating. This is a really good process.
Well,
so, but I would say since you guys do in school, that's really, really great. And do more prints instead of just posting on Instagram or your website. Do more prints, try different size, try different processing paper, and I started working on like submit some works, getting to the exhibitions, because if you are urgent to get a visa like me, I'm holding an O1 visa right now, and that's good. And but it should take like longer than me, but I took advantage of what I did when I still in school, so I just make the time much shorter for like applying visa.
Right. No, that makes sense. What I love about what Lucien just said is this idea of like, sometimes the job you have can also inform the game you have to play for your own personal art career, and that's great insight that I think I wouldn't have really put those pieces together. Now, Bo, you had mentioned that there was like an artist in residency that you did right after graduating, the one in Berkeley. So, and then I remember right after you graduated, you were in an exhibition that was in, I thought it was in Carmel. It was like you and your mom went to the exhibition. Oh,
You muted.
You're muted.
Bo, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Yeah, so that was in a gallery in Astoria in Oregon.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah, so one of the cyanotype image that I gave you, that one was accepted to a group show there. So when my mom came to visit me, we did a road trip. We drove there just to see my work at the gallery.
Oh, that's great.
That's fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would recommend anyone the support from your parents, and you get to show off your work to your parents.
Yeah, and then the owner put my work like right next to the window. So like when you walk on the street, my image was the first that you see. So that was really awesome.
Oh, that's very cool. So there was some planning though, because it sounded like as soon as you graduated, you had the thing in Berkeley. What was that again?
Artist in residency. So I applied right after I graduated.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What was your plan? Like, did you do anything before you graduated? Because to me, it seemed like as soon as you graduated, you had stuff going on, Yeah,
I didn't do as much as what Lucien did. I didn't prepare anything or, intentionally did anything before I graduate. It's just after the graduation, I kind of just had to figure out my living situation, like how to survive.
Right.
Just as not only as an artist, but as an individual person, like how to survive in Bay Area. And that was really difficult.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, it's like a full-time job trying to, figure out how to live here and stuff like that. But it seemed like the art was, I mean, what I admired about what you were doing at the time was it seemed like you were still playing the art game, but then you also found ways to be employed, you know, and the job with Real Real, that wasn't your only job. You did other things after that.
The Real Real, before the Real Real, I was working at the restaurant. So I was waiting table to get me through school.
Right.
And I did that for like two years or more than that. But after I graduated, I quit the restaurant job. So I knew I needed to find something in my profession.
Right.
And the reason I took the Real job was to have a steady income so I could do my art on the side. That was my goal.
Right.
But it didn't really turn out so well because it's a lot of physical work, working that job. And on the weekend, you were like mentally and physically drained that you just didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And driving 40 minutes to Berkeley and then 40 minutes back, it just wasn't for me. So when I ended the program, I talked to the artist residency manager. I was asking her for advice, like how do artists make a living? How do they afford to make art while also like working some other job? And then what she was saying, like it was difficult. You kind of just have to learn as you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say that's fair. Yeah. And you have to learn what you can take, you know what I mean? Like physically and mentally, and what's going to allow you to have that balance, you know? And it changes at different times too, you know, I think, you know, like there's jobs I've had that are more demanding and I couldn't be creative at all in my off time. And then other ones that were a little fit into my life a little better, you know?
Yeah.
So no, I think, finding that balance will be a continual thing, really, you know? No, that's interesting. So now Shahzad, in your brief period being out, I've always been impressed with how proactive you have been to play the game, like non-stop game playing. So tell us some of the things, like, and I guess what I thought was interesting is even as a student, you would play games that you weren't even allowed to play in. You know what I mean? Like you were in the Eddie Adams workshop, which is like for documentary photography, and you're like the fashion photographer, you know? And so why don't you talk about that philosophy a little bit and give us a rundown of some of the things you've done to try to like build this brand.
So the Eddie Adams workshop has a fun story behind it. We got to know about the Eddie Adams workshop in one of our classes, and the entire class was landscape, fine art, all of that. I was the only one. I stuck out like a sore thumb in that class because I was the only one who was doing commercial work. So I was still like, oh, this is for everyone in the class except you. And I said, wait, why is it not for me? So I said, no, I'm going to apply and I'm going to get in, and I'm going to be one of the students who does. And I did. So, but even for that, I reached out to a lot of people who had attended the workshop before. I got an opinion on whether all the stuff that you had to submit for the workshop was in line with what they expected. And I don't think I would have gotten into that workshop if I did not get feedback from the people that I reached out to. They told me how to sort of write my cover letter, how to approach commercial work in a way that it appealed to the panelists selecting photographers for the Eddie Adams workshop without making it sound like you were too commercial, which I feel my work is not too commercial. Like it's got a very strong commercial element, but it's also got a very strong fine art element to it because all of them have stories behind them. All of them have a lot of narrative attached to them, which is something that is common with photojournalists and other genres of photography as well. So I feel that that is very important when you're approaching something that is not really your market. You need to learn how to market your work to fit their mold. because you cannot sort of fit a square into a circle, right? So you need to make your square look like a circle to them. That's how I approached the whole aspect of it. And I did feel major imposter syndrome when I was over there. But uh, I felt like I was like the experimental one in the group. Like they wanted to see what would happen if they dropped a couple of commercial photographers into this group of hardcore photojournalists and people who do not believe in switching up the image and do not believe in editing and stuff like that. And I was over there like, yeah, I'll crop into it. I'll touch up on the skin. I'll do this and that. And they were like, no, that is not what you can do. So it was a very interesting experience. Apart from that, I submitted my work to various magazines and publications. Um, from January 2020 to now, I've had my work published in, I think, it's at 26 or 28 magazines now.
That's
Um,
insane.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
yeah,
That's live right now. It's really great.
thank you. And since October to now, I have gotten about 10 awards, I think, for my work. I
Excellent.
The most recent one was winning at the Communication Arts. So that was really exciting when that happened. And I have not put it up anywhere. So this is sort of like a first time that I'm mentioning it anywhere that I have won. And yeah, my graduation project has gotten a lot of good response. It won at the Communication Arts. It won at One Island. One Island is India's biggest photography contest, which is recognized globally.
Yeah.
Then at the Fine Art Photography Awards, it picked up honorable mention over there, and I'm hoping it picks up a couple more awards by the end of the year.
No, it's a good sign. I mean, the Communication Arts Photo Annual definitely is something that helps photographers who are trying to build a brand in America reach the kind of advertising and editorial market. And so, now I think your steps, there was all that hustle. Now you need to figure out how to capitalize on that hustle, don't you think?
Yeah. The way I'm doing that is by sticking with a team. So I spent I switched over like uh, a few people would know. I switched over from um, I was very much into toy photography, which is like building these elaborate sets for action figures and stuff like that. And I translated everything I learned over there into photographing people. So what I did at that point in time was I started building a team in the fall 2019 semester. And that semester, I worked with every single person who was willing to work with me. I must have worked with about 10 or 12 makeup artists, 7 or 8 hairstylists, multiple wardrobe stylists. And in the end, I sort of whittled it down to the 6 people that I always reach out to, and then there's another 6 that I reach out to if someone from that group is not free. So it's not really like an A team and a B team, but it's more like who I can get for the job, because I know that there are these 3 makeup artists who really know my style and who know exactly what I want. And the one I've worked with the most, we don't even need to communicate as much anymore. I just tell her the idea and she comes up with the mood board and it's spot on. So I believe there's a lot of value in investing in working with people and investing in building your own team. It's I won't say it's easy, because working with people is never easy because you need to sort of, there's egos and there's expectations and there's all of that that comes into play, and you need to sort of know how to balance out everything so that them giving you their time is valuable for them and for you. So it will take a while. It will be a struggle. You will have a lot of flakes. I had shoots where uh, people just didn't turn up. So you have to sort of learn how to work around all of that. Murphy's Law applies to photographers to
Mhm.
10th degree because everything that can go bad is going to go bad if you leave room for it. So if you want to carry 20 kgs of gear and need three things from that, because if you don't have that 20 kgs, you're going to need all of it and you won't have any of it.
Right,
But if you have all of it, you won't need any of it.
right.
That's what I have experienced every single time. So
No, those are excellent points. Now, I think that we have this thing until 1:15, then we
Mhm.
need to let everyone go. What I would say to the audience, if anyone has any questions, because I still have some questions, but put them in the chat and we'll read them out, to everyone. So feel free to add your questions to the chat. So now, Shahzad, you talked about the power of relationships, and then Lucien, I am wondering as we kind of shift this to you, the situation, the career positions you've put yourself in, they don't sound like anything you applied for a job for. It almost sounds like it was like you knew someone and then they liked you or something like that. Would you say that's the case?
Well, I would say that's the thing I learned from a last job when I still working in Beijing. And I think the most difficult part is getting into the business. Once you got into the business, everything goes so easy because you started to have the your relationship with people, and it's much easier to switch like in the business.
Yeah.
So I would say that's why I pointed out I'm kind of lucky at that time, but I would say that's the thing I have to do during when I still in my grad school, keep going to the galleries, those people, talk to them, give them impressions that make them realize that you are a person really love doing this, really want to get into the business. Like the last time when Astra came to me, pick up my work, I just say, hey, I'm available with time. If you want to like installation, you can just take me to the gallery and I can do that for you. But you need a perfect timing to point it out. You cannot just stand in front of someone and say, okay, I need a job. Nobody will give you that thing.
Right.
You need the timing, you just to make them realize you want to do this. I think when I was in my final review in the various section, asked what do you want to do after graduating, I say, maybe being an artist is the fourth place. I want to be an educator. I want to do gallery work. I want to be a publisher, but being an artist, I'm creating new works. Yes, I really enjoy doing that. But being an artist, maybe it's another thing I want to do. It's kind of like by another side of my life. I want to keep that thing a little bit smaller than a career creating work. So I'm shooting a lot every week, and yes, I'm managing my new book right now. It will be a handmade book or something like that, with like 120 images in it, something like that. But as my career, I think it should be like a curator, educator, or something.
That's really interesting. Like, I remember, I like that idea and the honesty and the vulnerability that comes with this idea of being like, well, yeah, I wanted to be a rock star too, but no, it did not happen, or like that idea of like, well, no, maybe I want to do something more dependable for a job and allow my art not to be touched by that, and
because for me, I think being an artist or being a curator or educator, in some way, it's the same thing for me. It's just a different side of the same thing. Like being an artist, I just put my work on the wall, but being a curator, I'm putting someone's work on the wall. So for me, it's all about the whole system, but we play different roles in that system. It's the artwork. I guess I just want to do art. That's it. So it's especially now I'm working for FFAA. It's not focusing only for photography. It's like a general art. So I get a chance to talk to like a sculptor, painter, and the dancers. So I started to realize, wow, artwork is such a I would say miracle, like
Yeah.
to the whole world. So
Yeah.
like really expanded my vision and make me realize, okay, photography just a small part of the
Yeah.
art world. I just want to do art.
Right.
Art, for doing art, I can create art, I can curate art, I can teach art to the next generation. That's everything. So I guess I just want to do art.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. And, you know, it brings me to my next question that I'll share with Bo, but I want you to all to answer that. Like, say for myself, when I was in college, I wanted to be a fine artist. And then I started working kind of commercially or editorially. And then I became a big sellout. You know what I mean? I wanted to like do assignments and stuff like that. Like the path of art was too isolated for me or something like that, or the turnaround was too slow to get the rewards, and I wanted the faster turnaround. So I'm wondering, Bo, in your situation, has your relationship with the medium, and by the medium I mean like photography or art in the bigger sense, has that changed from before graduation to after graduation?
I say yes and no.
Yeah.
I still want to be a full-time artist focusing on my art, my photography. But I feel I haven't got the chance to do that. Living in the Bay Area for the last like years.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that by moving to Arizona, I finally got a chance to like open up, like space will be open up, and we'll be less struggling with the finance.
Yeah.
So it'll be a new opportunity for me. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I mean, career-wise, I don't want to work for a company anymore or someone else. I just want to be my own boss if that's possible.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just I'm doing research about how to sell art.
Oh, that's great. No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
No, that is. I think you'll actually enjoy Phoenix. I lived there for 5 years working for a newspaper there. And the art that was there was great, and the affordability allowed curious, esoteric things to come about. You know what I mean? So no, I think you'll find it in fascinating. And the desert is magical. You know, that's really going to affect your work, I think. You know,
I believe so too.
Your artwork. Yeah. How about you, Shahzad? I know you haven't been out long enough for it to really change, I don't think.
My relation with the medium, I'd say it's always changing. It changed when I joined the program, it changed during the program, it changed, and it continues to evolve now. I started the program thinking, oh, I'm gonna be a toy photographer for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I realized that our program is very intensive, right? I was taking 4 classes a semester, so I had 4 assignments a week. And I was photographing action figures for all of it. And at one point, I just realized that thanks to these assignments, I had said everything I wanted to. I did not have anything else that I felt contributed to it. I did not feel like there was anything that I was feeling unfulfilled and leaving it behind and moving on to the next thing. So I realized that, well, I need to find something new, and it's always been this constant evolution for me. I started off shooting narrative projects with this very cinematic style, which had only one way to look at the project. I mean, it was just that. I moved on to shooting more lookbook and fashion style work while bringing that same storytelling element into that. And then I moved ahead and started working in a more fine art capacity. So that constant evolution, I think, is going to be something that will stay with me for most of my career, I feel. Because as a person, I get bored of things quite easily. I need to keep switching it up to keep it interesting for myself. So so I feel that is endless when it comes to photography. I started out like when I got my first DSLR, my very trusty Canon 600D. It was only landscapes and it was only pictures while on vacation. And then situations made me look at my action figures in a new light. And then it's just this constant uh, sort of evolution that's going on, and I find that very interesting. And I personally can't wait to see where photography takes me next. What is the next sort of evolution for me? Because it's never planned.
Yeah.
It seems to come so organically. It's like it builds out of your experience. It builds out of everything you have learned, and then it's like this new thing just comes up, and you go with the flow. You sort of realize that yes, this is the next thing that I want to be doing, and this is the next
Yeah.
sort of region to unlock in the next
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
view for me.
definitely.
So it's interesting, and that constant change, that constant evolution, sort of keeps the creativity going and keeps your passion for the medium going.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone takes up photography as a career out of choice. It's something that is just thrown onto you and you accept it. Because no say I don't think any sane person is going to be like, okay, uh I want to create art for the rest of my life and not know what is going to happen six
Yeah.
months later. So it's this innate thing that is there within, I think, all of us. And you just keep going, you just keep creating, and you hope for the best.
Eh, that's fair. There's a question. Now that was well stated for sure. There's a question that, it's funny, John Bono and I, when we were discussing kind of this thing that was going to be a class and now it's these little workshops, we came up with a list of mistakes that photographers make early in their career. And when John and I were talking, it was like photographers who buy a lot of gear, or they rent studios that they can't support. And so kind of just quickly, I wanted to see if there's something that any of you like kind of reflect on and we're like, oh, that was a terrible idea. Why did I do that?
Not doing research,
What's that?
not doing enough research in what you're getting into.
Oh,
I submitted to a ton of competitions last year,
mhm.
and for the initial part, I realized that I was not really getting anything out of it, and all of them take a sizable chunk of change to get into.
Yeah.
So what I realized was that even if you're not winning or even if you're not qualifying for certain competitions, it's because those competitions are not looking for your kind of work. And it does
Ah,
not matter how good your work is.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you just don't fit what they're looking for, they're not going to consider you. Even competitions that have things like fashion and beauty as categories,
Yeah.
they want a particular style of fashion and beauty. They want that stuff with the C stands showing, and they want it with the creased backdrop, and that is what wins. And you look at it and you go like, "What, really? Is that what won?"
Yeah.
But then that is what they think should win, so that's what's going to win. So you really need to know what your market is, and you need to sort of approach that market, because no matter how good you are not going to have universal appeal to anyone and everyone. So that is something that you need to keep in mind.
Oh, excellent. Love that. And not only is there the financial investment that you make that's wasted, but there's also the frustration and the like knock that you get by being like, look at the stupid stuff that won and I didn't win.
Yeah.
Like
And
there is that disconnect there.
one
So
more thing I noticed, sorry, just one more thing I noticed was when we're applying to jobs, not showing how much experience you have might be better.
oh,
It's something that I've
It's
sort of realized. Uh, I submitted I uh, put in my work to a lot of put in my CV to a lot of interviews and stuff like that. And I later on went and sort of looked at uh, the kind of people they hired, and I realized I'm overqualified for some of it.
mhm.
Because my CV runs into 3 pages and it's not filler content, it's actual achievements.
Yeah.
So I guess sometimes you're just overqualified and they don't want someone who comes with a style They want someone who is completely raw, who does not know what they're doing, so that they can tell them, okay, do this, and they're not going to get any pushback.
Mhm.
So
Excellent point. Excellent point.
that is something. Don't feel bad if you don't get it, because
Right.
you're probably just much better than what they
Not a
want.
good fit for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Bo? Do you have anything you look back on and you're like, I can't believe I did that, or why did why was that like something I thought was going to work? You know?
Yeah, I wish I took one or two commercial classes while I was in school. I think if I did that, I would have more option after I graduate. Yeah, that was my only regret, kind of.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It is. I think it's hard when you're a student to think on both.
Yeah,
Though.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and because it is, it is hard to, like, if you're on a deep art path, that takes a lot of devotion and a lot of focus, and then the idea of like having it, your hand in the other pit, is different. No, that's an excellent point. Lucien, can you think of anything that you're like, ooh, no, that was
Well, I would say I'm lucky. I just turned on that thing at the last minute, so I want to point it out. It's copyright stuff. That's very, very important, because at that time I was urgent to like get into the exhibitions or the shows, and there is one gallery in South Korea, and they asked me to, like, oh, I love your work, how about something, and you don't have to ship everything due to the pandemic, and we will print it for you. We have a professional printers. But at the last minute, they didn't give me an official press release. I know everything looks good, and they have a real gallery over there. I guess they just didn't show how the professional part. And so I would say just to be careful with that. The copyright is very, very important, because especially in this case, they are going to print it for you. And that's like a printing agency or like a gallery, you have no experience working with them. So if you give them a very good file, and it's just a gun. So I would say, well, doing this, I'm so happy even today, and I turned down. I said no, I'm not being this part. Kind of like 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before the exhibition opens, I say, I told you I need to see the official thing. I need to sign the press release, the things I need to sign, but you never give it to me. So maybe no.
Okay, so you were looking for a contract that would protect your
Yeah,
copyright.
I would say pointing out everything once you started working with someone, and it's a kind of like a test to show how professional they are. Right. And how good the system they are. Some galleries, they have only 1 or 2 person working with them, but they're so professional with that. Right. But to someone, their gallery looks fancy, their website looks fancy, and they may run like 20 more years, but it's still doing bad. And so just to be careful with that, I would say.
Right. Right. No, that's excellent point, and it's very much from your world of galleries,
especially for fine art.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. So we are out of time. We could do this for another hour, and we'd still have great stuff to dig into. And I have like a list of questions that I didn't even make a dent at. But you guys were wonderful and so well spoken with all of your kind of stories from your past. So thank you.